Please fasten your seatbelts. We're experiencing some unexpected turbulence. This is Felicity Was Here. Welcome back to Felicity Was Here. I'm Heather.
I'm Melissa.
And I'm Dr. Joe.
And today we're discussing Felicity Season 2, Episode 10, Great Expectations. Hello, my friends.
Hi.
Hey, girl.
It's been so long.
I was like, where were we? So good to see you all.
Yes, and we're glad that you are okay and safe and didn't have to evacuate your apartment.
Yeah, it's
Yay.
It's been quite a month or two. I mean, yeah, we for everyone who maybe doesn't follow us on Instagram, we hadn't intended to take such a long break, just with the holidays, and it's a busy time at work for me. And then I went on vacation, and we had wildfires in LA, which I'm sure everyone saw on the news. It was pretty scary. I could see them from my building. But luckily, the fires themselves, I didn't have to evacuate. It didn't get to my home. But, air quality has been pretty bad still. It's just, it's a disaster zone. But yeah, I was very, very lucky. And I appreciated everyone like you two who reached out, checking on me. So yeah. And then, I went on vacation. It was such a weird time to leave to leave the city, but it was also just like there's nothing I can really do here about it. So yeah, I ended up going to London for a bit, which was really nice. But it does feel good to be back doing this with you all. Little nice distraction.
It does. Yeah.
And it's almost Galentine's Day. I think by the time it releases, it'll be Galentine's, but happy Galentine's Day.
Oh,
yes,
you're the
happy
best
Galentine's.
Galentine's. Love you guys.
Yeah. And all of our fans are Palentines as well.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So happy New Year, happy holidays, happy Galentine's to everyone. We're so excited to be back. Just as a reminder, where we left off, Felicity left for the holidays, and Felicity and Noel decided not to pursue the rekindling of their relationship because Noel decided that he was going to go all in on Ruby. And Julie met an independent record executive who was taking an interest in her music. No big storylines for Ben or Elena where we left off, but I feel like this episode coming back from break, it's kind of a reset, and also a lot happens. Like all of a sudden tons of plot points were set up. I don't know if you all felt that way.
Yep.
We'll get to it.
So this episode 10, Great Expectations, was written by Josh Reams and directed by Keith Samples. So just a note on the episode title of Great Expectations, wanted to mention this is a callback. You might remember in season 1, the episode Finally, Felicity was helping both Ben and Noel on their final exams, and she was helping Noel with his final exam, which was about Great Expectations. And so she had to discuss the themes and motifs and everything of the book to Noel. And there was one scene in particular where Dr. Joe, you brought up the quotes that Felicity discussed with Noel, and that none of the children in the book really had strong parent figures. And so I love that there was this throwback to season 1, that they brought back this Great Expectations theme, especially because this episode is so focused on her and her dad and her mom, that I thought it made a lot of sense, very literally around expectations, but also just tying it back to the book, which had the themes around the parent-child relationship.
I completely forgot that I looked that stuff up last time. I was looking at your all and I said, wow, she really put some work into this. And then I was like, oh, I did that before.
So I didn't remember exactly what quote from the book she talked about in Finally, but I did find some like Cliff's Notes, Spark Notes that discuss the theme of family in the book, and that there weren't very many models of healthy parent-child relationships. Most of them are orphans, or they have broken or dysfunctional families. And I think I just remember you saying in Finally that whatever the quote was, it was like the fact that the kids were often parentified. And that that really stuck with me from that episode. And I think that definitely carries through, at least towards the end of this episode.
I'm so happy that that stuck with you, because I couldn't make any connections. I was like, I lost my mojo or something.
We're on break too long.
Yeah, I'm rusty. Yeah, so I'm glad that you pulled it all together because
Man.
I got nothing for you.
Oh my goodness. I'm sure there's a
We'll
hottest
find one.
Ben moment. There's got to be a hottest Ben moment. There's probably a
I
few.
know. I was
Yeah.
already like I didn't have one planned, but I'm like, oh wait a minute, the pool. Okay, yeah, that'll count.
Okay.
Well, and it's like it'll be not just one, it'll just be like your ranking of all the
Yeah.
Ben moments and how hot
True,
Well, now
they are.
that this
'Cause
second
they are
half
all
of the
very
season,
cute.
yeah,
Yeah.
now there's a lot, so we're good.
Yep. Amazing. So getting into the first scene, we are on a plane. Felicity and her dad are sitting next to each other, and Felicity tells Sally that her dad is coming to New York for a couple of weeks. He's teaching some procedure that he has, I guess, invented, and they're just the two of them chit-chatting a little bit about how nice the holiday was. And I feel like this runs throughout the whole episode, but it also just, they're so awkward together. It baffles me. It's like, this is your dad. It's like, oh, it was great to see. Yeah, yep, it was good to see. I'm like, did you not converse on the car ride to the airport? Like, it just felt like this is not a normal parent-daughter. Like, you're sitting next to each other on their plane. Shouldn't you be like sharing headphones and grabbing chips? I don't know. It didn't feel it was very tense and awkward to me,
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the point.
I guess. But it also didn't feel real in that sense.
Realistic, no, because they had a seemingly close relationship, like where we left off with the last episode and them kind of all bonding and they were in a good place. So yeah, it feels weird, but that's probably the point.
I know.
Also, can we say, like, if he's teaching this procedure, that's like some Meredith Grey level shit. He's gonna go teach a procedure he invented? Like, that's like some, what's it called? What's that, like that Catherine Fox award kind of stuff? Maybe not that high up on the Meredith Grey scale, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You
No.
didn't watch it. No.
It's been a while.
Well, they're like at the height of excellence,
Yes.
medically on that show. They're so brilliant. And it's like, they're just casually throwing this around like it's not a big fucking deal. And it kind of is. If that's what he's doing, like, that's kind of a big fucking deal. That's like revolutionizing medicine as they know it kind of thing, potentially.
And I think
That's weird.
it was something about like rebuilding blood vessels or like growing
Was
new
it
blood
heart
vessels.
stuff? Was it heart stuff?
I don't know what that
I feel
means.
like heart, cardiac.
Oh, heart. I thought you said hurt. Yes, heart. Yes.
Okay, there's my 90210 connection. I remember this from the first time I watched this months ago, but
Here it
not
is.
from actively seeing it. Donna Martin's father is a renowned cardiologist
Mm,
They
on
all are.
90210.
of course.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Cardiothoracic expert. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my connection. Now I'm out.
Perfect. So anyway, it's a very awkward plane ride for whatever reason. They're chit-chatting about how nice the holiday was. She's like, oh, it was really nice to be home. And then he says, yeah, your mother was really happy to have you home. And I'm like, not both of you? Like, I just thought that was a weird response. Like, yeah, your mother really liked having you home. And just like, oh, wasn't it just like, yeah, we liked having, like, no, your mother. So I was like, is that a dig? Is he just like trying to be extra like forgiving or deferential to the mom because he knows what's really going on between the two of them? I don't know. I just thought that was a really weird response to be like, your mother was happy to have you.
I don't know if it was anything yet. Like, my
Okay.
mom and I are closer than I am with my dad.
Right.
So it's kind of like I'm the only girl. When I come
Mhm.
home, my mom's extra happy to see me. I don't know.
And to like the whole like Tuesday dinner things, like
Yeah.
we don't know much about what does Barbara have going on in her life, so she would probably be excited to see Felicity because like I don't know what her friend group is like, and she doesn't work, so she doesn't, he's the one flying off to New York City to go do this special thing. It's like, what does she have? And that I think that's probably plays into what happens later. Like, who is she? What does she
Yeah.
got?
Yeah.
Ain't got shit.
I mean, she's got to have something. Like,
She's trying to gotta have something, I think.
guess. Yeah. True.
And the something she had for such a long time was Felicity. So
Yep, that's all she had. She gave
exactly.
up
So
her whole life. Yeah.
she gave up her whole life. Gosh damn.
Yeah. So then through their chit chat, we also find out he gave her a telescope for Christmas. They talk about her classes. She says she's really excited about this semester, that like she's finally, never happened before, but like all of her classes, she's just so excited about each and every one of them. Then I did notice a baby kind of starts crying. So there's a little tension on the plane already. And he says, oh, it should be a great 2 weeks, don't you think? And Felicity says, yeah, it's going to be a great semester. And then all of a sudden, the plane starts shaking, and the captain gets on the intercom, whatever you want to call it, and he says, sorry, folks, we're going to be going through some turbulence. I mean, a little on the nose, but
Yeah.
it made
A
its
lot
point.
on the nose.
It made its point.
A lot. Okay, I have more to say.
Go
Okay.
for it.
I'm not going to argue or like be super annoyed. I'm going to internally be super annoyed, but I'm not going to like bill that out today. I just want to say.
I think you might be surprised. We might agree on this episode, but go ahead. I don't think we're going to fight, but go ahead.
This is like my Titus Andromeda like gif. I'm like, what? That was an awkward back and forth too. So you were talking about the kind of like that tension, but it was also, he was saying things and she was responding a different way. He's like, oh, have you thought about astronomy? And she's like, I really like my schedule this year. She didn't answer the question he asked. It was weird.
Well, that
Like,
part, I think
she was-
it's because she was saying, because like, oh, have you ever thought of taking astronomy, a class like that? And she's like, no, I do art. Like, you know this. I love art. I'm doing art. Like, to me, it was more of her like, no, I don't want to do math or science. I want to be an artist, Dad. Like, can't you remember that type of thing? I don't think it's warranted. Like, he's just chit-chatting, like bullshitting.
It's just weird though.
But I
like,
think that's why
because
she
it's
responded that way.
heavy-handed. I think it's heavy-handed though. Like, they didn't have any issues with her being an artist. They were like totally on board with that. So I don't know why she would need to remind him. It was more just like, are you having the same conversation that he is? Like, where are you? Because you take extra bullshit besides your major. I took a fucking astronomy class. Like,
So did I. It was so hard.
it
Oh my
was
God.
it was one of the classes that I did really, really bad in undergrad. Like that
was like,
and geology.
I'm gonna learn the constellations, and it was
Yes.
like all math. Which
Here's physics. Here's some
I'm not
couch.
bad at math. I just despise it, and so it was all math. I'm like, there's no star
not fun.
constellations. This is not.
Yeah.
I'm like calculating how long it'll take for a star to die, or so. I don't know. It was some bullshit.
It was much more mathy and less like, oh, this is so cool. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's not like he asked like if she was going to take a chemistry class, which be more like still pre-med mindset. I don't know. It was just weird. So I guess I am annoyed, but it was just a weird conversation.
But I think you're right, because then also he said it's going to be like a great 2 weeks, don't you think? And she's like, it's going to be a great semester. Like, her mind is on,
she's
this is
yeah,
my
they're
semester.
disconnected.
And he's like, I'm looking forward to spending time with you the next 2 weeks. And she's like, it's going to
She's
be a
like,
great
I'm
semester.
going to live my life. I don't
Yeah.
care about these 2 weeks. Like, that's you. You do
Yes.
you. I'm going to do me. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there was a splitting happening with the conversation. Like, she was not reciprocating.
Yep, I agree.
I got to go.
Bye.
Like, I'm done.
My work here is done.
I'm serious. Like, this, you might be surprised this episode. So then Felicity complains to Sally that her dad has only been here 48 hours and he's already dropped by like a few times at work. So we see she's at Dean and DeLuca. Dr. Porter drops by unannounced, which reminded me of David, how she was complaining that like, oh, David dropped by twice today. Isn't that sweet? But not really. I'm like, she's got some weirdness about people like just dropping by and saying, hey.
Great observation. I'm not being sarcastic.
I was like, okay.
No, because
This is going to be the wildest episode we've ever.
Totally
I can already
is.
tell.
Oh my gosh! Because I was just kind of fixated on, you little ungrateful shit. Like I'm not gonna do a whole rant, but I was just like, wow, her dad gives a shit about her. I don't know what that's like, so that's why I can't speak to this episode much. I'm not even gonna do it. But I was just stunned. Like, why is that the worst thing? But it's true that she was that way with David as well. So that is
Which I also
interesting.
thought was shitty, though. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
poor
Yes.
baby. You have a guy who cares
Sucks
about
to
you. and
have a
wants to-
dude who's
yeah,
interested. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, like he drops by, just wanted to
She's
like,
rejecting
yeah. She like really wants her independence for some reason
from everyone.
from everyone and everything.
Yeah. Okay, go on with your bad self.
Yeah. So he just stops by to say hi. That, annoys her, I guess. But Dr. Porter leaves. And as he leaves, Ben walks in. Felicity looks surprised to see him because they haven't worked together in a while. And Ben says, oh, I guess Javier redid the schedule. That
I'm glad
felt,
they called it out. Yeah, that was
it
good.
felt very forced in that scene. And there's a reason for it later, obviously. But
yeah.
I was like, yeah, Javier redid the schedule.
I love it.
And so then they also just kind of start chit-chatting. He's like, well, I mean, we haven't worked together since, I don't know, the last millennium. And I was like, oh, how funny, because that was literally like a
It's
few days ago
sincere.
was the last
Mhm.
millennium. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
but that was such a big deal back then,
I
like the
know.
whole like Y2K stuff. So it is funny that they mentioned that specifically.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's 2000 now, not
Mhm.
1999. We are in the
Mhm.
2000s now, people.
Things are getting real.
Oh, yeah. So he's being charming Ben. He's all smiley and joking. And Felicity's like, did you get a raise or something? Like, what's going on? You're very happy. He says, no, I didn't get a raise. It's a new year. I feel like I'm getting a fresh start. Swimming starts soon. So he's like super pumped for this year. And here's where, of course, I call out the literal Great Expectations.
Yeah.
Name of the episode. He's got his hopes high for this year. He's excited for a fresh start. He's excited for swimming. So he's got some big expectations. So she decides to go in the back room for something, and as she's leaving, Ben's giving her some googly eyes.
Mhm.
He's peeping on her.
He's beeping.
He's peeping.
Oh.
And so then we jump to Ben talking to Sean at
Hold
a
on.
bodega. Wait.
Hold-
I want to like
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. I feel like it was still part of the scene, but that's fine. We can pause. Go ahead.
I took away something different from the scene because my mojo's gone, right? So I wasn't
Okay.
doing the whole Great Expectations thing, which I totally love that you noticed. I think that she was so confused about how he was and like, did you get a raise or something? Like, because he was being so nice, that whole charming Ben thing. I think that was such a huge contrast to how Noel acted with her after their breakup when they first saw each other. After she chose what she chose, that whole thing. He was so mean and so nasty and so like aggressive with the way he talked to her and very blatantly, I don't like you. I don't want to see you ever again. And this is a very different way to interact with somebody who also she broke up with. And he's like, hey, girl, what's good this year? It's so different. So I think it throws her off balance that he's being so light and easy. It's so easy. Their back and forth is so easy compared to her dad, who she's known since she existed. And then, so there's contrast there too, just how easy their conversation is. What do you think, Melissa?
I mean, yeah, but she broke up with Ben, but really, like, he forced her hand in that. Like, she, if he had.
He just wanted cash.
Yeah. So that was kind of like more his part, his decision. But I thought it was interesting, like, as soon as he came in and they're like, oh, he redid the schedule, blah, blah, I'm working now. I'm like, oh, this is it. Like, they're shipping these two again. It's already starting already.
It's
like,
on.
There's no, oh, who will she date next? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're back to these two. And I could tell right away, there's no like, what?
There was no
Maybe?
question.
Yes. You know that's where the second half of the season is headed immediately from this little interaction, which I'm not
Mhm.
disappointed about. I'm just saying, like, all right,
There's
here we
other
go.
humans on the planet.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
like,
There's a lot of fish in the sea. What are you
I'm
doing?
disappointed, not as a Team Noel person, because he's with Ruby, whatever, and I like Ben in these episodes because he is very charming and they're very cute
Mhm.
together. But yeah, for that reason, it's like literally the last episode, she wants Noel. She
Yeah.
wants Noel
Like,
back.
Thirsty.
Yeah.
Thirsty for Noel, like pick me and not
Mhm.
Ruby, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, Ben was with Maggie, like he sees her once and is like, yeah, I want Felicity back. Like we didn't see
Yeah.
the progression of like why that. It's not like he was
It
hanging
wasn't
out with her
earned.
more. Yeah, it wasn't earned. Like we didn't see
Exactly.
them working together more and talking and getting to know their problems and being
Yeah.
vulnerable with you. It was just
Yeah,
like
reconnecting.
it's
just
yeah,
like,
it's like
oh,
oh, it's a new
yes.
year. Maggie's
happening.
done. I want you back. I've
Yeah.
been thinking and Sean was wrong. And it's like what? It just
Yeah.
it's very
yeah, where did it
doesn't-
come from?
Make sense. Like you would want him to like go through this process of realizing that he does want something serious. Because it's like, well, what changed now? You still want casual, or you like her
Mhm.
again and you want a serious relationship? Like what has changed?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So then we jump to Ben talking to Sean at a bodega saying that Sean was wrong about his advice not to date Felicity. And Sean's like, wait, what? Like, that's the best advice I've ever given in my entire life. But Ben says that since he listened to Sean, everything in his life has been worse. Sean's like, well, I didn't tell you to sleep with a married woman, right? And Ben's like, well, I was going to talk to you about it, but like you were too busy drooling over Julie. And Sean acts stunned, like, whatever are you talking about? I don't, what? And Ben's like, you're in
Julie
love.
who?
Yeah, what? So Ben's like, yeah, you're in love with Julie, but you never tell her. You're never going to do anything about it. So now I feel like an idiot for taking your advice on relationships, which I think is a totally fair point. And we would have told him that had he asked us what to do about Felicity. Like, don't listen to Sean first. That's our advice.
Yeah, don't ask Sean.
Don't ask Sean. Yeah.
Like, don't even ask, much less listen.
So, yeah, this kind of furthers that point. It's just like, okay, so you feel like since you stopped dating Felicity, everything in your life has been bad. But it's like, but you made those choices, Ben. Like, it just, again, it didn't make sense to me for like why he realized, oh, Felicity's the one. I don't know.
I think it's maybe similar, though, to the way Felicity, when something goes wrong with one, she's like, I should have chosen the other one. And then when something goes wrong with the other one, I messed up. I should have, stuck with the first one I chose. And I think that's kind of mirrors that, like, oh, I messed up, because this thing went bad. It means I have to go back to that first thing that I was looking at instead of who else is out here in the world. It's like, if one thing is wrong, it doesn't mean the first thing was right. It just means you need to keep dating. You're very young. Go find something else. Go find someone else.
And yeah, we got David, but we haven't seen her like date around and date lots of guys and just just date. I don't know. It doesn't have to be serious and exclusive immediately. So yeah, that is kind of a bummer. But they must have known where they wanted to go. They're like, all right, we're back from break. Let's get those wheels in motion.
Let's waste no time at all.
So then Felicity tells Sally that, when she was younger, there was a play of The Wizard of Oz, and she wanted to be cast as Dorothy so badly, but she found out that Mia Bono got the part. So we see that Felicity goes up to the outside of a classroom where it looks like probably a list of the people who are within a class, and she sees she's not on that list. So the professor comes out conveniently at the same time, and so she asks the professor why she didn't get in. He's like, look, your stuff was good, but there were just too many applications, not enough spots. Just make sure you're on the wait list. So as the professor leaves, Dr. Porter happens to walk up. How are you? How's the class or whatever? She says she didn't get in the class. So Dr. Porter says, well, I might have some sway now that I work here or now that I'm temping here. So he's like, so I might have some pull. You want me to make some calls? Felicity's like, no, really, it's okay. Like, I'll just, go to the registrar and find another class. So her now expectations have been dashed for the year as well. And I'd also like to say she didn't ask the professor if they were okay.
Okay.
And so she's shown growth. But also I think, Dr. Joe, you might have something to say about this?
Okay. So I signed up for this online thing. And the professor, quote unquote,
what
professor,
thing is
if
this?
you will.
Oh, it's a class. Okay.
Yeah, it's an online class. Yes, it's an online school, if you will. And I said some stuff, and then the professor wrote me back and said some stuff, and I was like, she hates me. I'm like never going to make it in this business. I ruined everything for myself. And I was really stressed out, like, oh my gosh, she hates me. She hates me. And I wanted to say something back, but I was like, just let it breathe. Don't do it. So I waited, and she did write back later, and she said very nice things, and it was very obvious that we were, in fact, okay.
You were okay. Oh, good.
Yes. If not even good, maybe. But yes, for sure, we were okay. And I was like, woo! And then I did disclose, wow, I know how Felicity feels when she's all nervous about professor stuff. But I also said, I didn't double down and keep on persisting and being like, are we good? Are we good? Are we good? I did. Yes. I took a step back and I let it chill, and then it worked out.
But you can see how one might think that their professor hates them because of something they said or did or whatever.
Oh, 1,000%. That was never the issue. It was just, she's just a bumbling fool. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But that's how you learn, Hopefully she doesn't keep doing that to the degree that she did on that very first time. I mean, she does a little bit, but yeah, I think it tapers off. Some lessons are harder to learn.
Yeah.
Am I the only one who would have been like, Daddy, please call and make this work for me? Am I the only entitled one that was like, yes, please?
Oh.
I don't know if I could ever really say what I would do. We all like to think that we're better than we are.
No, I know I'm a piece of shit. Like, I would have been like, who all do you know and how soon can you get this done?
Like, what's the point of
Right?
you doing this job if we can't get a
Yeah,
paper?
like, what are you good for?
Exactly.
If I had that kind of relationship, with a parent, I'd be like, hell yeah, make some calls. Who all do you need to get in contact with? What do I need to do? What's my role in this?
I mean, if she were at Stanford, that would have happened every single day anyway,
Yeah.
So it's like,
And
why
it's like
not?
it was for an art class too, so
Yeah.
he was willing to do that for her art. Like,
Exactly. That was a nice gesture.
Yeah.
I think in this world, you got to take whatever you can get.
Mm-hmm.
But it does, as you've pointed out, highlight her independence, her
Yes.
strong,
Yeah,
deep
yeah.
desire for independence. In this particular episode,
She
or
wants
the
to do
last,
it on her own.
handful, she's been really like, I'm a big girl now. I got this.
Yeah.
I don't know about all that.
I mean, to me, it doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, I doubt
It
they
never
would
hurts
kick
to
us.
ask.
Yeah, it
That's
doesn't
the
hurt to
one.
ask.
It
I
never
think
hurts to
the
ask.
famous Anne said that.
Yes.
And I don't envision a world where they would like kick out someone to put
Yeah.
Felicity in. So if it's just like, sure, we'll squeeze her in, like, I don't know
Yeah.
that there's a harm there, except just that
Or be at the top of the wait list, something,
Yeah,
just
that's
make
true.
it a little
Yeah.
bit easier, facilitate that.
Yeah.
But it was interesting too. The professor didn't even know who she was. Like, he's like, you're the one with the faces
Horses?
or whatever.
Like, oh, you were
Horse.
the one with the horses. She's like, no, I did the faces.
Okay,
Or
yeah.
I don't remember.
It was
Yeah,
whatever, but
something.
he wasn't thinking of the correct person. So she's
No.
not a standout in that department. She's not like, it's not like all the professors be like, oh, keep your eye on her. She's one to watch out for. Like, she's just a regular person.
Which is also maybe why she didn't want her dad to call, because maybe she realized, like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough for this class. I don't know.
Maybe.
I did think it was a little weird, though. Like, you have your schedule, but you don't know if you're in the class yet or not. I don't remember that
I
happening
found
for me.
fault
so
with
I
that.
I didn't know that
Yeah.
was something that could happen.
That was a weird thing because she made it sound like it was all locked in already. So it's weird that it's like, oh, wait, no, I'm not in the class. Like, it's the day before classes start. How do you not know what
Yeah.
class you're in?
And, like, classes it seemed like they already started because next scene, Noel is a TA.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
they're
Like,
teaching already,
it's
so, yeah.
happening. It's
Yeah.
active. Classes it's like, we're ready to do this thing. So that I found odd. I thought that
Yeah.
was a weird writing, like, not plot hole. Maybe you wouldn't call it that, but just like a little misstep.
So yeah, the next scene, we find out that Noel is a TA and he is starting to run through things with his class. And we see that Ruby is also in his class, which to me seems like kind of an ethical issue. I don't know who you would alert, but it'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
you put my girlfriend in my section, maybe move her or move someone, because that just seems weird.
Yeah, it depends on. I mean, TAs maybe grade some stuff but not other stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
Like, what all are the responsibilities of TAs? And maybe there wouldn't be a conflict because maybe the professor's like, you don't know how to do shit. I'm grading everything. Like, you just do the lecture and answer some questions. Like, but you're not touching anybody's, content that they're producing.
Yeah.
So, or sometimes they do grade. So I don't know.
It probably depends on the class. Yeah.
Right. So it might not be that big of a deal if he's not actually doing any grading.
True. She does say no special treatment, so maybe there could be, but anyway.
I feel like that was a joke.
Yeah, it was a joke. So after class, Ruby goes up to him, tells him he was so good. He's like, no, I was nervous and awful. She's like, no, you were great. Don't give me special treatment just because I'm your girlfriend. And then she says, you did talk a little fast. He's like, oh, okay, that's good constructive criticism. Thank you. He's like, then she says, oh, yeah, and you could have made more eye contact. It's hard to form a connection with your TA if they're not looking at you. I'm like, again, I don't know that I ever had a connection with any of my TAs, but whatever. And then she said, oh, and then maybe you could ask more questions, like make it more interactive, spitball, blah, blah, blah. And then he snaps. He's like, Ruby, it's the first class. Like, you have to have a topic first to ask questions about. Like, we're running through the syllabus and that's it. She's kind of like, God, fine. Sorry, I was just trying to help. He's like, no, I'm sorry. He's like, I was going for challenging but inspiring, like Dead Poet Society type thing, I guess. So he apologized right away. I think I can kind of see both of the. I think he shouldn't have snapped. He's obviously, fragile ego. But also I see his point of being like, yeah, there's nothing to I'm not teaching anything yet. We're just kind of like running through the syllabus. So I don't know how much interaction there can be.
I think she was just excited about giving some helpful, in her mind, helpful suggestions, and she just kept on thinking, and it kept flying out of her mouth. I didn't think she meant for that particular day, but he got defensive and made it about that.
Because that's what he does.
I didn't say that.
Yes. So
Dr.
then-
Joe is texting me things to say. I'm just kidding.
Not true.
Collusion.
You know that I am a Team Ben anti-Null,
I
so
know,
this is not
of course.
shocking.
I know. So then back at Felicity's room, her, Elena, and Julie are putting together the telescope that her dad got her. She tells them that, you know, her dad insisted that she always wanted one, but she doesn't ever remember wanting one. And tells them that just knowing that her dad is there freaks her out. She feels like a kid again. She's like, I don't want him here, like asking me where I'm going and who with and what time I'll be back. And then Elena, you know, they're kind of agreeing like,
I love
yeah,
what Elena says. Come on.
go for it.
Because that's how...
I didn't take the quote down, so go ahead. What did she say?
No, I don't even have my iPad with me.
What did
I've
she
got...
say then?
She said something like, oh, so you can like go back to partying it up like you
Oh,
were
that
last
part.
semester. Like something
Yeah,
to
yeah.
that effect. And that,
Yeah.
because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, where were you going? What were you doing? What are you talking about? Like, she's just really fixated on this. I don't want to be treated like a child. I am an adult. See me as an adult. And like, she's just so fixated on it. It's like, I thought we moved past that in the other episode. Like, we already had this thing. Like, why are we having a repeat of that in this episode? But probably because of the dynamic stuff that you talked about.
But we also like haven't seen Dr. Porter be like, "Where are you going today? What are you doing?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like
That's
he
what I'm
drops by,
saying.
is
It's
like,
like-
"How are you?" Like maybe we can
Yeah.
grab coffee
It's
later.
just her exaggerating.
Yeah.
Yeah, like her perception is really distorted and interesting. I'm done.
Have to be done. I think it's
I promise you I do have to be because
she's
I
a-
will turn into a whole thing.
She I think is overreacting quite a bit in this episode.
Which is her
'cause-
thing.
Yeah.
And that's
And but like you said, I thought
developmentally
in
normal.
the last
age.
Thanksgiving episode, I feel like there was a shifting
Some
of like we see
closure on
each
that,
other
like-
differently.
Yeah.
We see the new Felicity, we see the new Doctor and Barbara, you know, like
Yeah.
I thought there was some like growth.
Like, why
there.
are we rehashing this
Yeah.
then? Like, right. It's like, but I think they just got her all hyped up so it could be a bigger deal later when
Yeah.
he reveals what he
Yeah.
reveals.
So yeah, I mean, Elena agrees though too. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'd freak out if I knew my dad was here." But like she points out, like Felicity, it's not like you lead this crazy life where you're going to raves and staying out till 3 a.m.
Mhm.
She's not Megan, for example.
No, she's not Megan. Even though the Porters think Megan is like an angel.
Yeah.
So you could hide it if you wanted to. But yeah, and Elena, meanwhile, is sewing this stuffed animal frog thing with 3 legs. She made it over break, and some kids loved it, so now she's making more of them. Then Megan also comes back and comes into the room. She's like, "Oh, a telescope. I see you're back to stalking."
That was good.
And she's just, kind of in and out and says, like, everything better be off my bed by the time I get back. So then she leaves again. And Felicity keeps griping that now she's like, oh, just like having my art class, not getting it, just completely threw me off my plan. So again, we get these expectations that have been dashed. So then later
Hey,
at dinner. Go ahead.
Hold up. What do you think the leg missing meant? Like it just had the terms in one leg. Do you think what symbolism did you derive from that? Since I'm off my game, I'm assuming that you caught something with that. No?
I caught nothing with the frog.
Oh,
stuffed frog?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was more just a motive, or not a motive, but a driver of like what will happen later. Like Noel gives it.
But
later.
why wouldn't it be a whole thing that he gave her? Like, why is it like missing a part?
Okay,
This
now
is
That's
you're
how she makes all
reaching.
of them.
But why? Because she like it. Why did they do that though?
'Cause it
I'm
looks
not
funky.
reaching. I feel like that they were reaching, or like why? Everything's intentional. Like if you're writing, like it has to have a purpose. So like, why did they do that?
Just to
I
make
just thought it
look
was supposed to
funky.
look goofy, like
Yeah.
she wasn't the best at making these, and I was supposed to
And
just
like
look kind of
everything
off.
Elena does is cool, and like she can even make this 3-legged frog thing cool. I don't know.
Okay.
I got
Sploosh.
nothing on that. Sorry.
No.
Okay. Well, I don't either.
Okay.
I'm not reaching. I was waiting for something to be dropped into my lap because I didn't reach out for anything. And
I
like,
didn't research three-legged frogs on this one.
oh, I should have done that. I'll be back.
Sorry. So later at dinner, Felicity's with her dad, and Dr. Porter says that the university wants him to stay until the end of June now. Felicity's like, oh, wait, but what about your practice? He's like, I can take a leave of absence. She's like, what about mom? He's like, Barbara's coming next week already to visit. She's like, wait, so you already took the job? Like, you guys are moving here? Like, what's happening? Like, no, she was already coming to visit anyway. But he says, like, he wanted to check with Felicity before giving the university an answer. So she looks uncomfortable. She's kind of hemming and hawing, and eventually says, like, well, if you really want this job, then I think you should take it. And he's like, yeah, I do. So he is going to take the job. And again, this might surprise you, but I'm like, wow, how sweet of her dad to, like, I wanted to make sure you were okay with this. But, like, he didn't have to do that. He could have been like, oh, I'm transferring.
This
and
is
going
what's
to
happening.
Yeah, like, oh,
Yeah.
guess what? I'm going to teach here now. So I actually thought that was really sweet. And again, I think, yeah, she's being a little unreasonable. Like, I mean, yeah, she says, if you really want it, you should take it. Not like, yeah, that sounds great, Dad. You know, like, it wasn't
Exactly.
enthusiastic.
She's not answering the questions that he's asking. It's
It
more
wasn't
of that
enthusiastic
disconnect.
affirmation. Yes, I want you here. That is fine with me. It's just like, if you really want it, you should take it. Yeah.
She seemed like she was supportive. I don't think the tone was that like, bleh. Like, she seemed like she was supportive. Like, if you really want it, you should take it. Like, maybe
She seemed
giving,
apprehensive.
Oh yeah, she
Yeah.
seemed apprehensive, but she seemed like she was trying to appear to be supportive.
Yes. So then in the morning, a phone call wakes up Felicity and Megan. She answers, and it's the registrar saying that she couldn't get into that class.
Hold up.
What?
If we're gonna go back to this parentification thing, it's like he's asking permission from his daughter, so these roles are being flipped. Maybe that was a thing.
I don't think it's permission. Again, I think it was like, it's a courtesy.
A courtesy, but I'm saying, like, if you're gonna relate it back to that Great Expectations theme, that would fit that theme.
Yes. So yeah, the phone call is a registrar saying that, you know, we can't hear exactly what the registrar is saying, but from what Felicity is responding with, it sounds like she didn't get into this art class, and her dad did try and call a favor in, but she still couldn't get in. So now Felicity is aggravated because he did do something that she asked him not to do. I don't know if anyone has feelings or thoughts there. I am a little
At that
sad
point,
that he did call.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she said not to. I know he just wanted to do what was best for her, and he thought he was helping, but she did
Yeah.
say, no, don't do that, so he should have stopped.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's where she gets it from, because she's done things that people haven't asked her to do,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
rewriting
just
Ben's
wait.
paper.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
that's reflecting. It's like,
she
okay,
rarely stops.
yeah, exactly. So maybe she gets like that drive from her dad. Certainly not Barbara. She's got nothing going on, so we wouldn't observe any drive in her whatsoever. But yeah, she would probably maybe mirror some of her dad's habits, and that's where that comes
just
from.
wait.
I'm gonna wait. Yes, I'm quiet
I'm
now.
just saying, like, I've got notes on that very thought later. So
Sweet.
then we go to the pool where Ben is swimming, practicing. He runs into his coach who was there cleaning up some stuff. He's like, oh, when are we going to get the practice schedule? Coach is like, you're not going to get it. The university has dropped swimming. So the coach tried to call Syracuse, Columbia, all these other schools and trying to place them all in other swimming programs, but there's no luck. So now Ben's fresh outlook on life and great expectations for the semester are also busted. Poor Ben. All he had was swimming, really.
Yeah, that sounds really disappointing. Because he didn't, like, he wanted to do track originally, and then swimming was, like, the second best thing, and then he got really into that, so it's like, now he doesn't have that, too. It's like, ooh, that's a big, big bummer.
And I also think it's weird that they, like, didn't alert anyone. It's like he had to run into the coach and be like, there is no swimming anymore. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just thought that was...
He showed up.
all these people are, like, finding out at the drop of a hat that, like, their
Yeah.
whole plans have changed. Like, that no one notifies anyone.
Yeah, like, it's past the
UNY.
last minute. Like, this isn't even last minute. Like, things are active now, and why don't we know them?
I know email wasn't that big yet in 2000, but like letters can be mailed. I don't know. I just think it's weird, but I get it. Dramatic effect.
Yeah, it's dramatic indeed.
So then we go to Epstein, where Julie is meeting with the very slimy Eric Kidd, and they're talking about the contract for her music demo, and he says that they are going to cover the cost of 3 demo recordings. Julie's very excited. She said she's been dreaming about this since she was a little kid. She's like, I don't know how to thank you. And Eric says, well, how about dinner with me? You know, to
Gross.
celebrate. No pressure, though. Like, oh, yeah, just here's this contract. No pressure, though. Come on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Everything about him is gross. His name, his hair, everything.
The way he speaks, like, it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
It's so
Like
slimy.
it's like saliva all over
Yes.
his mouth.
Ugh.
Sheesh.
And Julie also looks apprehensive. She's not excited, but she does say okay. But it was like oh, I'm going to put my hair behind my ear. I feel very uncomfortable, but okay. Which, really does make sense for her character.
Super
given her
awkward.
history. Given her history with men,
Yeah, her history personally and just the music field at large, the music industry at large, or,
I mean,
film
this was
industry,
before
all
Me
those
Too.
things.
So
Yeah, but
yeah.
it was a lived experience before it was a,
Yes.
hashtag. So that I'm glad that she said something, or she does say something later.
So then at Noel's class, he is finally teaching and asks the class about the fundamental difference between Hobbes and Locke. No one is raising their hands. It's all silent, but I had to laugh. Ruby's sitting at her desk, like looking at him intently and like motioning, like pointing at
Yeah.
her eyes, like motioning to him, like do this. And Noel calls on her, like, yeah, Ruby. She's like, wait, what? Oh, he's like, the difference between Hobbes and Locke. And she's like, oh, I don't know. And so then she's pissed, but I feel like Noel is too, because then she didn't know, and like no one in the class knew. And I know I don't want to be a Noel apologizer, but I also thought like that'd be really fucking annoying if I was teaching a class and that someone like in the road like doing this to me. It's distracting and not helpful. I don't know.
You wouldn't want like the other people to see that. Like,
Yeah.
why is she doing that to him?
Do I think he handled it the right way? No.
No.
But I also think that what she was doing was kind of annoying.
But also, as a
That was goofy.
teacher, if no one knows the answer to the question, then you're doing something wrong as a teacher.
Ooh,
Damn.
shots fired.
No, but I thought he was condescending about it too. He's like, "Come on, this is simple stuff, people." Or like he said something condescending or just like kind of snotty. And
Yeah,
it's like,
like,
that's not gonna encourage people to talk. Like, what are you doing? You sound like a
Because
full
he was
shit.
going for challenging yet inspiring, but I think he just
That's
got
not
the challenging
inspiring.
part. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just had the
that was a
challenging
swing and a miss. Yeah.
So yes, he absolutely handled it the wrong way, but I also think what she was doing was kind of annoying.
It was goofy.
Yeah.
But I think they like play her out to be like a little bit of a goofball.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a goofball thing to do. So
So then in Felicity's room, her, Lena, and Julie again, I guess they're all close friends again because they're all hanging out as a trio. So they're in her room, they're getting ready to leave to go somewhere, and Julie's looking through the telescope. This got a big laugh out of me too. I don't know why, but the way she was like, you guys, she was just like, I see this huge eyeball. Like it was so genuine and idiotic. I found it very hilarious. Elena was like, you
It was
put the
pretty
lens
funny.
on backward. Come on.
I love it. That was really funny.
I laughed. It was just lighthearted and hilarious to me. So then Felicity's opening the door, not facing the door though, and she's like, you guys, like, forget about the telescope. I'm never going to use it anyway. Just as Dr. Porter drops by again unannounced and overhears her say that, which is a pit in my stomach, awkward,
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So, I mean, that's like season 1 uncomfortable awkwardness. So she was surprised to see him. He's like, hey, just thought I'd stop by, see if any of y'all wanted some free lunch. All the girls are like, I love free food. Why not? So as the girls go to leave, then it's just, Dr. Porter and Felicity's like, look, if you don't want the telescope, like we can take it back or whatever. She's like, no, I didn't mean it. I love it. Whatever. And I'm like, okay. So they head over to lunch. And again, it's just very awkward. I'm like, have no one knows how to converse like normal people with him. It's just, it seems a little weird to me that like no one knows how to have a conversation with him, and they're all just kind of like quietly eating their French fries. But Dr. Porter asks
Maybe.
Elena, go ahead.
Maybe it's because Felicity's been talking so much shit that maybe
Mm.
they don't want to be like buddy buddy with him because Felicity's like, ew, he's bothering me so much, and it'll be weird if they're like, yo, hey, what's up? Like, let's be like having this really easy conversation when your daughter's annoyed with you.
I mean, even
I
just
don't
like,
know.
oh, so what's this procedure you're teaching? I don't know. It's just like, I don't know why it has to be so awkward, but yeah. And like, it was his idea to take them all out for lunch. And then it's like, oh, ask Julie about her music. And like, oh, yeah, Felicity told me about that. Like, I don't know why it's so awkward. I get that it's like because Felicity doesn't want him there, but yeah, it's
They're
just,
relaying it on pretty thick
yeah, it was a
in this
little thick.
episode.
So after lunch, Dr. Porter and Felicity are walking probably to class or his office or something. And, you know, he seems like he had a nice time at the lunch, though. And he says that it'll be nice that they'll be able to do that more often now. And Felicity stops in her tracks. Again, poor girl. Oh, I'm going to get free lunch now. But that set her off. She stops in her tracks. He, turns around like, what's wrong? She brings up that he made the call about the class. So again, I get why she's frustrated about that. But then she's like, it's not just about the class. She says that she's feeling claustrophobic. It's like she's living at home again. She's like, I know I said that I was okay with you being here, but like now I'm not so sure, like if I'm cool with you staying for a while. And Dr. Porter says, look, I get it. Like, I'm at the hotel. It's too close to the dorm. I'm moving to the plaza. So, like, it'll be better then. If Dr. Porter's single now, he can pull if he can go live at the plaza. So he's like, so yeah, it'll be better once I'm further away from the dorm. And she says, it doesn't matter like where specifically. It's that you and mom will be living here. She's like, I have my own life in New York. Like, once she moves here, she's going to want Tuesday dinners again. And she's going to want to go shopping all the time. And then Dr. Porter drops on her, mom's not moving here. Felicity's like, what? What do you mean? He says, we're separating. Again, she's confused. He says that he wasn't supposed to say anything until Barbara got there the next week. Felicity's like, well, I was just at home. Everything seemed normal. What's up? Dr. Porter says that, things aren't black and white, that they've been talking for a while. And when he got the job offer, he took it. And so then Felicity said, so you chose a job over mom? He says, no, this was your mother's decision. She asks why. He says, I don't know why. And at that moment, like, I actually get teary.
Yeah.
Because he looks so hurt. Felicity's confused. And yeah, I get just like him even saying, like, I don't know why. Like, that's really sad that, like, he doesn't want this.
And then when you think back on the previous parts of the episode where he wants to spend time with her, he's like, taking her friends out to lunch. Like, obviously he was hurting and wanting to like feel some love from his daughter. And she was just such a jerk to him. It just hurts even worse.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I think there's so much to unpack in this conversation. I do think it's curious why they didn't tell her at home.
Like, that would have been a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, the safety of her home, the two of them together.
Yeah, I didn't understand why it's like, oh, she'll be here in a week and then we'll tell her. It's like, why wait those 2 weeks? Just tell her at home. Unless he only just now got the offer from the hospital. But that also doesn't make sense. Like, he had this, I don't know, just that was a little murky to me. And here's where I then will say, maybe Felicity is not as different from her parents as she might think she is, because they are also now keeping secrets. And if we think about the Thanksgiving Family Affairs episode, she too didn't tell them about the haircut and the photographer and dropping pre-med and all that. And now she just talked to them and was seeing with them, and they didn't mention anything about what was going on in their life and didn't tell them. And so I just thought that was a really big comparison like to the Thanksgiving episode, but again, this like role reversal, like things were flipped. Now her parents are the ones keeping secrets and like pretending everything's fine when it's not letting her in. Now, do they have to tell her? Like, their marriage is their marriage, but I just thought it was weird that like we're gonna keep this a secret for 2 more weeks and yeah, just try to like put on a brave face and not let her in. I don't know.
Yeah.
Both my parents are married, so I don't know. I don't have that lived experience, so it's hard to fully,
Yeah.
understand that. But
Obviously, they didn't go about it the right way, but I think everything they were trying to do was to help her and like ease
Yes.
her into it versus all her like secrets and stuff was more selfish on her part.
It
like,
was self-serving, yeah.
so it's a little different, but yeah.
It's a lot different because this is like people pleasing 101, and she was
Mhm.
not doing that when she was
Mm.
keeping those things. She was trying to be
Yeah.
independent 101. But that's like kind of a people pleasing thing. Like, I don't want to ruin her Christmas vacation or winter break. Like, let's just have a
That's
good
a good point.
time.
Yeah.
And I think that's dumb, but that's what people pleasing does. It doesn't think things all the way through. It's just kind of in the moment, like, this is like, let's keep it cool. But long term, I would have rather found, get that bomb dropped on me while I'm at home and can process versus like,
Yeah.
hey, school just started. Now I've got this big
Right.
thing. And like, how am I going to concentrate on my classes kind of thing? But people pleasing doesn't do all that. It's very short term
Mhm.
and just fixated on the, immediate moment and not
and it's
really
also
thinking ahead.
him telling her now, making sure it's okay, telling you now that I'm going to move here or, going to take this job. I think it's natural that would open up questions about what is her mother going to do. And so to not be able to answer those questions, I think is weird. So I think he should have just waited another week, even asking her about the job. I don't know. It just, the timeline is weird. But that said,
She's
yes.
kind of snapping off on him a little bit, like, oh, you're ruining my life. Like, it's like the equivalent of stomping after your room and slamming the door shut. Like, she was like acting like a kid. She was acting like
Yes.
a bratty teenager, being like, you ruined my life.
So
Yeah.
Again, like, did her parents handle it in the best way? Probably not. However, you can see he's now also dealing with, we talk about Barbara, like, being alone now for the first time without Felicity, but like now he's without his wife for probably the first time in 18 years. And he just like, maybe the bright side could be that I'll be near my daughter now, right? And she's
Absolutely.
rejecting him at every point and literally just like, you want to grab coffee, and that is like the biggest imposition on her, and it's so sad.
It's so
for
interesting
him.
also watching this now as like almost 40-year-olds who like my parents are
Oh,
older.
How dare you?
Hey,
Don't say that.
go rude.
I'm like, who? Me?
Not you. You're only a few days older than me. But yeah, now that like my parents are older and getting there in age that it's like, oh, I would have killed to have spent more time with them and done all that versus when I was like 18 or 19, I'd have been like, ugh, yeah, they're cramping my style. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, we were all probably assholes at that age. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But now, yeah, like you said, like I teared up too rewatching that with a dad because I was like, oh my God, Dr. Porter, like, Felicity, you're a bitch.
And he was so nice this whole, like, he didn't do anything judgy or overbearing.
No.
Like, there was nothing. I know in the past I've seen him as scary. There was none of that in this episode for me. I just wanted to give him a big hug.
Yep.
And he wanted one.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's all. He just wanted to like grab coffee and lunch. I mean, yeah, free food. Poor baby.
Yeah.
Ugh. And the other thing where I thought they're not as different as she may think, he is getting separated and literally moving across the country from his wife. Like, just like Felicity moved across the, like, now Dr. Porter's moving to the other coast in his separation. I'm like, that's separated. Like, that is hella separated.
Yeah.
That's not like, all right, I'll move out and get an apartment, in Palo Alto. So saying that, I'm like, that is a drastic move.
It's
Like,
extreme.
maybe that's where Felicity gets it. I'm like, maybe that is different as she or either of them think. So yeah, I really like this episode, I guess is what I'm saying. There was a lot of interesting comparisons. So then we go back to her dorm and we see Felicity's on the phone with her mother and she's probing her like, how are you? She's like, oh, well, yeah, that sounds nice. But no, really, like, what's going on with you? Like, she's trying to get it out of her mom. But it's clear to us that her mom doesn't say anything, and Felicity also doesn't tell her mom that, she now knows about the separation. So Felicity tells Sally that it was actually heartbreaking, her like trying to keep up appearances and pretend like everything was okay. And then she tells Sally that she feels like everything has come loose, like nothing was tied down tight enough. So heavy. That was my runner-up for my angsty
I was
away
going to
message,
say, that would have been a good one. Yeah.
it's a good one, but yeah. So then at Dean and DeLuca, Felicity's working, and it looks like it's close to closing time, and just, oh my God, the lighting and the music in this scene, it was like season 1 all over again. It's that like jazzy piano. It's so dimly lit. I just want that like on a loop in my apartment to just make me calm at all times. It was so beautiful. So then Dr. Porter stops by again, just wanted to check in to see how she was doing. She's like, I'm fine. He says, well, anytime if you want to grab coffee, she's like, yeah, it's fine. But, I got a lot of studying to do. Her typical go-to excuse for anything. And we do see that Ben is in the background cleaning up too, and he's kind of eavesdropping. So as Dr. Porter leaves, Ben goes up to Felicity and says, let's get out of here. He's like, I had a lame day. Let's close up early and get out of here. Felicity's like, we shouldn't, but Ben smiles at her, and that's all it takes. She's like, all right, let's do it.
Of course.
This is interesting that her avoidance got activated versus her I have to fix this problem got activated. Because I'm surprised that she wasn't more like, I need to comfort my dad, like I need to make him feel better because I can't stand people around me not feeling happy 100% of the time. Like, so that's interesting that didn't get pulled to the surface, but her avoidance side got activated. I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to see you. I'm not dealing with this. This is not real. This is not happening.
I mean, that's going to last the whole episode too, as we will see at the pool.
Right.
Yeah. It's very not Felicity. But I feel
like
it
is. She's both.
Yeah. Yeah. I was say she kind of did do that with David too. Like, oh no, this
extremely
isn't a problem.
did.
Yeah.
Not kind of. That was severe.
Yeah.
So she does that, but other times she inserts herself into people's problems where they don't want her assistance. But I guess that's the thing. He does want support, and she's like, nah. But when somebody doesn't want her help, she's like, hey, I've got the perfect solution to your problem. Yeah. What a dork.
Maybe maybe it's like, I'll fix other people so I can avoid fixing myself. So.
And this is probably perceived as a self problem. Even though it's not her relationship, it's like her family. So yeah, maybe that's the avoidance. That's the difference, I guess, because it isn't somebody else's problem. She feels it's a problem of her own too.
Yeah, because he also was like, "Are you okay?" It wasn't like, "Hey, can I offload on you and talk about my separation?" He was like,
"Yeah, he would never. He wouldn't do that. Like not that overtly."
Wouldn't. So then at the loft. Gross Eric is over with Julie. I feel really bad. Like, Julie needs someone good because I'm sick of like talking about the men that she's with as gross, because they are gross, but it's just like, I hate this. So she's talking about her writer's block. And again, every word is just dripping with like sleaziness. It's gross. So then she says that they should probably go because they're, supposed to go to dinner. And he says, probably, but like leans in to kiss her. She turns her head though, luckily, and says that her roommate is going to be home soon and he's really overprotective. But Eric's like, oh, is that the only reason? And she tells him, like, look, I know I said that I wanted this since I was a kid, but that doesn't mean I'll do anything to get it. And Eric protests that, oh, no, I really am interested in your music. Like, I'll wait for you if that proves to you that I'm legit about, your music career.
Gross.
I mean, is that still part of the like grooming weirdo harassment playbook? Being like, oh no, I'll wait for you just to prove it. Is that, I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's curious that he's like, is that the only reason? So he's digging a little bit deeper instead of just being like, okay, I'm going to read the room. She's not interested. So he's trying to still pull some conversation or discussion out instead of just leaving it.
Or to see, like, do I have a chance of scamming on this girl? I don't know.
But I wish she would have said, I'm only interested in this music thing. There's going to be nothing else.
All I want is a deal. I don't want you at all. Yeah. So then at Noel's apartment, Ruby's there studying. Noel says that they should leave now if they're going to make this movie. And Ruby says, I'm not going. I have to study because I don't want to be humiliated by my TA again. And he's like, Are you kidding me? And she's like, No, no one knew what the hell you were talking about with Hobbs and Locke. But, like, you know, you picked on me to, be the scapegoat. He's like, No, I was actually hoping you would help me out. Like, it was dead silent in there. No one knew the answer. I thought you would know, and like that would help me out. And so they're, fighting. And she's like, By the way, I did know the answer, but you put me on the spot and I got nervous. And then she throws out, I guess I'm not as smart as your brainiac ex-girlfriend. And she leaves. I thought that was unnecessary because, like, it had nothing really to do with Felicity.
Yeah.
But, it's a silly fight. Whatever.
It's silly. It's filler.
So then Ben and Felicity go to buy beer. Again, it's very cute and funny. He hands over a fake ID and then, tries to be nonchalant and chit chat about this fake movie. Oh, what'd you think about the movie? Oh, I liked the movie. Oh, you liked the movie? Good. I liked the movie too. And so they
so cute.
Yeah, it was cute. So they then go to sneak into / break into a building. At first, he was like, "Oh, the lock is faulty or kind of broken." So I was like, "Are they really breaking and entering?" But he does get out some sort of like screwdriver thing to like bust in there. I'm like, "Oh, they are breaking into the building." So Felicity's like, "Oh, great. So now we're gonna get in trouble here, and we're gonna get fired from our jobs." And Ben says, Javier won't fire them. And she bursts out laughing. He's like, What? She's like, It's just every time you say Javier, you say Javier. He's like, Fine, Javier won't fire us. And yeah, that's where the Javier joke starts. It's very cute. So then they go into the building. Ben turns on some very beautiful, moody lights, and we see that it is the pool. So Ben opens the beer, and they toast to Javier.
So romantic. Oh, ever since that scene, I've always wanted to sneak into a pool.
You're like,
at
I've
night
always
with
wanted
someone.
to break into a pool.
Yeah,
That's the dream.
it is. Season 1, it was the stacks of the library. This season,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
the
there you go.
pool.
Yep.
And look, I'm not a Team Ben person, but I can admit, I mean, yeah, this is so romantic and adorable and cute. And just their whole vibe is very flirty and adorable. And like when Ben's good, he's really good. Like, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's not
that's
good,
true.
he's not good. But when he's
Yeah.
good, he's really good.
Yeah. Yep.
So this is one of those really good moments in episodes. So then back at the loft, we have to keep coming back to this. Julie comes back from her night with Eric. Sean's there, wants to talk to her. And yet this will not be the moment that he finally tells her he's in love with her. He changes the subject and asks about the contract in her hands, looks it over. He's like, oh, and no nookie at all, which again is gross and also none of your business, even if she did want to date him, but she doesn't, and that's just gross. So she's like, no nookie. Thanks for the vote of confidence. So he, dodges the subject and does not tell her that he's in love with her.
Well, at least he read the room correctly this time.
In what way?
No, he didn't try to be like, "Hey, yo, girl." Like, hey, since he didn't hit on you, I'm gonna. Or like, since, you didn't do nookie, like, I don't know. Like, that would not have been good timing because he pissed her off. He offended her.
Insulted her.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that's one time where he actually assessed what was going on and didn't bumble his way through anyway.
So then back at the pool, Felicity is getting semi-undressed. She does keep her shirt on, so I don't know why she's so bashful. Ben's kind of sneaking a peek behind him, watching her take her pants off, and she's like, don't look at me. And I'm like, girl, you're covered. What are you talking about? But Ben was like, well, we've slept in the same bed before. Felicity says, that was a long time ago, though. Ben says, not that long ago. So we see a little difference of, he's like, what? It was like yesterday. So then they dive in the pool. They're goofing around and playing. And she tells Ben that she saw him swim junior year, because of course she did. Which
of
is
course
funny,
she had her eyeballs on him.
I know, but I'm like, I thought he was in track. I didn't know he also was on the swim team in high school. But he says junior year was his best year. He won that meet, whatever. So she said, even though that swim is canceled, they'll have to still sneak into the pool so he can do his laps and she can doggy paddle, in the back. And then they start joking around. She's like, oh, yeah, they give huge, huge trophies for dog paddling. And I just thought she is also being so flirty in this scene. And I just kept thinking, I'm like, can you imagine season 1 Felicity in this moment? Like, it's like they're two different people.
Yeah,
She has grown so much.
She would have been wearing a turtleneck in the pool swimming.
She wouldn't have even gone with Ben. She'd be like, oh, we
We're
can't
gonna
get
get in trouble. Yeah.
But like, she's like, she just felt so relaxed. Maybe it was the beer. I don't know. But
But even doing that, yeah. But I think that's a good highlight though too, how relaxed and easy it feels with Ben, and just further laying that on real thick.
Especially they could be this way after breaking up, and I'm never really friends with my exes like they are right there in that moment, so it's kind of a testament to their relationship.
And they haven't even hung out since. Yeah. They've like worked together once, twice maybe now. Since the breakup. So it's like they kind of picked back up where they left off, which is interesting.
And romantic. And destiny. Just kidding.
No, you're not. So then Ben asks her, and again, something very nice and emotionally intelligent. He's like, if I'm overstepping, or I don't remember his exact
tell me to shut up.
Tell me to shut up if, this is
stupid
too much,
or
whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, but, I saw you with your dad. Is everything okay? She's like, yeah, it's not great. Let's just talk about something else. So again, she is, as you said, avoiding.
Yeah. That's amazing that he noticed, and amazing that he said, like, tell me if this is too much. He is very sensitive in that way.
He is.
Because he did that with Julie, too. Like,
yeah,
he was really sensitive in the way he approached her after her situation.
So, yeah, she doesn't want to talk about it. Kind of swims. They keep swimming and playing. And this I'm like, ugh. It's just like this beautiful montage of them splashing around and diving and swimming under the water with the lights. And it's just so beautiful. And just to see them like having fun. It is light, even though obviously there's a lot of shitty stuff happening. Like, it was just fun.
I would have loved
we don't see her just having fun.
Yeah. I would have loved like a montage of their summer road trip like that. Like, we wouldn't have had to hear conversations or anything, but maybe just like scenes of them driving, or like seeing these like, road trip things together. It would have been so cute.
Yeah.
We got robbed.
Maybe Dr. Joe can write the screenplay.
Oh, yeah.
For the missing summer.
Maybe, yeah.
The missing
Felicity Summer Part 2.
Yeah. And that'll be canon, like for real, for real.
So then they are sitting on the end of the diving board together, very close, nudging each other, joking again. But then we hear hello and see flashlights, and it's a security guard who has caught them. So brings them into probably some sort of station with the beer confiscated. There's a huge 0 tolerance sign on the wall. So we're like, uh-oh, we know. Like, this is bad news bears. And Ben tries to take the blame because, of course, he does. He even did with the cheating when, like, Felicity was to blame. He was trying to take the blame for everything. But she says, I didn't have to go with you. I didn't have to come. Like, you're not going to take all the blame. So then a little bit later, he's like, I really am sorry about all this. She says, don't be. And then he says, I can't believe you actually did this with me. And I think all of us can hardly believe that she did all of that with him.
True.
Hey, man, they found love in a lonely place. This is what happened. Because both of them were disappointed. Both of them were kind of vulnerable and fragile. Like, maybe not like that extremely, but I think that's kind of the sentiment. Like, she didn't want to deal with her life problems with her parents' divorce situation. Maybe he didn't want to deal with the disappointment of not being on swim team this year and all that. And just like, let's just act like everything's okay for an hour or two. Like, let's just have fun.
Well, and I feel like they originally bonded in season 1 when the robbery happened, the trauma bonding, right? So, like, I feel like that is kind of when they've come together. In the past, too, is when bad things happen. They've
kind of gravitate towards each other.
Yeah, and they've been like a support for each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Felicity goes back to her room. Megan's on the phone with Dr. Porter, apparently, talking about declaring her major. So Felicity says she's going to call Dr. Porter back. and Megan's looking through the telescope. She loves the telescope, though. She's spying on people across the street. Felicity asks Megan, have you ever had that feeling that when you finally see a different side to your parents, that somehow they just stop being your parents? And that's my angsty away message
That's
for
deep.
the week.
It's a good one.
And Megan responds that all of a sudden they just become people. And Megan's like, yeah, I had that when I was like 5. Just even in the vulnerable moments, you got to give a little dig to Felicity. It reminds me of this is my favorite book when I was in 8th grade, the Give Me an O. Like,
Yeah.
it was my favorite book in 8th grade. Like, yeah, I had that moment when I was 5. But yeah, and I think that's like the main thesis, obviously, of this episode is like, oh, your parents are just people and they have problems and they're not perfect. And I feel like that's come up a lot in this show. So yeah, that's why I picked that away message, because it's very angsty and it's very existential.
It was a good one.
So then Felicity also tells Megan that she got caught breaking into the pool and that she thinks she's in real trouble, that the guard said she might even get expelled. Megan says, cool, maybe now your life will get interesting. Finally. But I think this, sets up the rest of the season here is like, here's the conflict. What's going to happen now to Felicity's future at UNY? So then Ben goes home and Sean is still up. And Sean tells Ben that Ben was right. Ben's like, yeah, I was just at the pool with Felicity. We got caught. Tells him all about that. And he's like, I haven't had that much fun since this summer. He's like, and I just realized that like Maggie was a lame reaction to taking Sean's advice. Like, well, that's an overreaction, but okay. But clearly Ben thinks that Sean is talking about being right about, not listening to Sean's advice. But Sean's like, no, you were right about Julie, that, I'm in love with her. And so then Ben's like, oh, yeah, I know I'm right. You're in love with her. So Sean's like, I should probably say something soon, huh? And Ben's like, yeah. So then Julie later heads to the studio to record her demo. And in the recording booth, there's some random guy setting up the microphones. And he asks her how long she and Eric have been going out. And she tells him that they aren't going out. He's like, oh, really? Like, could have fooled me. He's like, okay, sure, whatever. He just says, yeah, Eric's one of those guys. He's got a rep. He's like cute singer magnet. So now we hear like, oh yeah, Sean, I guess, was right in this situation, that Eric is slimy. He's a slime ball. So now Julie realizes that and is thrown a little bit for her recording, which is really unfortunate because we don't see how it goes. But I could imagine a world where maybe you're not going to perform your best when you hear something like that.
I don't think her songs are super happy though, so maybe it worked for her. Like maybe they put her in the right mood. I don't know. It's not great though.
That is a fair point. She is not a bubblegum pop princess of 2000. Yeah.
I'm curious though about this whole Sean being in love with her and telling her thing. What do you all think about that? Is that a good idea for him to share that with her, or should he keep that to himself and move on? Like, what do you think?
I mean, if he had any inkling that she also felt the same way, then yeah, he should tell her. But so far, there's nothing that has happened that has ever like hinted that Julia would like him back.
Okay,
I don't know.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't if I were Sean, just because I don't do that. So
yeah. Also,
especially like, your roommates.
Roommates. I was just gonna say, yeah, they're still living together. That's awkward.
If you were just friends, that's one thing. But she lives with you. You're the landlord. Like, they're paying you
that's
rent.
More power dynamic stuff, more awkward stuff.
If it were the end of the year, like moving out for the summer, hey, by the way, like I've had this crush on you forever. He could at that point, but I think her living there, that makes it really awkward. I don't think he should have invited her to live there from the first place.
Yeah. It's interesting though that Ben's like, you should tell her. Like, then you don't give good advice either, because that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. Because we haven't had any inkling that she reciprocates that at all. Like, there's been no evidence whatsoever that she'd be like, really? Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's just to get it out there, hear that she doesn't like him so that he can move on. Be like, okay, now I know, and now I can move on. But that seems a little more cruel than what Ben would, I don't think Ben's that cruel where it's like, you just need to hear that, like, she's not
Yeah,
into
I
that.
don't think
Yeah.
so.
So then someone knocks on Ruby's door and she answers it, and it's Elena's three-legged frog thing, which might symbolize something else that we have yet to decide.
All right.
And it's puppeteered by Noel. So he's like, I'm sorry. He comes in peace. It's a peace offering. She's like, all right, but I'm still mad at you. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I might have picked on you in class. I just felt lost up there. She's like, yeah, okay. They kiss and make up. And he's like, by the way, you are a brainiac. She's like, no, I know. He's like, yeah, you kind of are. Whatever. It's insignificant. Unless anyone disagrees, feel free to jump in.
Maybe having only 3 legs represents instability.
Oh,
Noel doesn't have a leg to stand on here in this argument. Doesn't have 2 legs to stand on. I don't know.
No, like if you think like if a table has 4 legs and there's only 3, it's
Yeah.
gonna go boop. It's gonna fall
Yes.
down and like my whole world's falling apart. My whole world's crashing down, kind of thing. But they're just cute,
Or that
I
you would
guess.
expect a frog to have 4 legs and there's only 3. And so that's defying expectations, like the name.
oh my God. Moving on.
But I should point out in the Noel arc here, he has these expectations of being this amazing TA, right? And his are also dashed because he's not as good as he thinks he is or wants to be. Anyway, that's the only thing. That's the only way I can like make that little fight work for this episode
Okay, yeah, that makes
to make
sense.
it relevant. Otherwise,
To make it relevant,
it's
otherwise, like,
meh.
what are they just like planting seeds for? Like, oh, there's trouble in paradise. Like
I guess, but it's so frivolous. I don't know.
a lot of young adult relationship things
Yeah.
are frivolous.
That's
Hard to
true.
be frivolous arguments. Like they're not, like, how are we gonna pay our mortgage this month?
So then Felicity walks down the New York streets in wintertime, bundled up. I love the scarves and like wool coat outfit she's got going on in this episode. She meets her dad at Epstein for coffee finally. He tells her that Barbara's never going to forgive him for telling Felicity about this, but Felicity says that she talked to her mom on the phone last night. Don't worry though, she didn't tell her that she knew. And then she does apologize to her dad about what she said. But then Dr. Porter doesn't really say anything else after that. Not like, he also just kind of avoids and moves on from there. So he's like, how'd everything go at the library yesterday? And Felicity says, okay, still have lots of studying to do. And again, I'm like, more lies. And he's avoiding. They're very similar. They're way more similar than we think.
I mean, she didn't say she does have more studying to do, so like that's kind of true. That part of the
I
sentence
mean, there's
is true.
always more studying to do, sure.
I know. It's just funny.
But then he does say that they'll get through this. So then they zoom out on the two of them having coffee across the table from each other. Felicity tells Sally that she didn't want to tell him about getting in trouble at the pool because he's also in trouble right now. They both are. And that was very poignant. And here, especially at the end, I feel like we're getting into the parentification aspect. My parents are still married, so I don't have that lived experience. However, I can imagine that as a child of divorce, you probably have to start managing your parents' feelings a lot more than you're used to in the past. And so again, here she's like, oh, I need to protect him and not put more on him because he's going through a lot right now. And so she kind of lies to cover that up. Like, don't want him to worry about me. He's got enough to worry about. That said, like, yeah, they are both going through a lot right now. But we have seen in the past that her parents want to know. Like, they want to know more about her and what's going on in her life. So I don't know that this will end well. Lies never end well. But
Secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone. I
Yeah.
thought that was a load of shit line. I will say this. I kept really so much in today, but I will say, oh, I didn't want to tell him because he's in trouble too. We both are. I'm like, bitch, you don't want to get your ass handed to you. He was just sitting here trying to call like people to hook you up with a class, and now you're gonna be like, I might be expelled. Like, no. Come on,
true.
girl.
That was a very
Oh.
convenient
I was like,
excuse. Like,
that
you're
was-
going to get reamed out.
She was
Yeah.
reaching with that. She was
Yeah.
reaching with that. Like, everybody loves a good distraction. He's got too much to worry about on his own thing. No, he would love to have to fix this for her. Come on.
And, oh, your mother's coming next week. She'll yell at you too then when she gets here. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, then they could
Yeah.
be united again. You know, I think she just didn't want to get in trouble because she's
Yeah.
in trouble with school and she didn't want to be in trouble with her parents. Like, I can see some of her being like both of them, like, she wouldn't want both of her parents to know because that would stress them out probably. But the whole, like, oh, well, he's in trouble too. We both are. I'm like, come on, give me a fucking break. That was too much.
No, I think that's fair. You're right. Some of it is also just like, I don't want to get yelled at by my
Self-serving.
dad. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be in trouble with dad.
Mhm.
Like, that's her being a little kid.
Yep.
And I think this, while there are some aspects of maybe parentification, I feel like she really, really shrank more than anything and became a little kid during this whole episode. As I saw her being a little kid way, way more than I saw her being parentified.
Well, and that's why I didn't feel like it until this very end scene with her mentioning. Otherwise, I didn't see the role reversal throughout the whole episode.
Yeah.
I thought she was just being a jerk. It was more just at the end here talking about like, oh, I'm going to hold this back because he's in trouble.
I
But
think
you're
that was
right,
just an
it's a
excuse not to
convenient
say,
excuse.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, this can wait a little bit longer, because they're going through some stuff. I don't want to put more in their place.
Well,
like,
but also
come
she doesn't
on.
even know what's happening
That's
yet.
what I was
It's just
gonna
like,
say.
we could be in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go
She
ahead.
doesn't know what to, like, she wouldn't be able to tell him, like, what's going to happen to her because she doesn't know yet either. So maybe she's
That's
just
true.
But then he
waiting.
would just make a call
string
and make
pulling
it go away.
self. Exactly. His string pulling self could get ahead of it before a determination
Well,
is made.
if his
like,
string
let's
bullet
put this
pulling
fire out.
self couldn't even get her into that class, then
True.
it's not going to stop
Well,
her
that's
from
because she
getting expelled.
sucks. She's not a good artist, and that's why that happened. That's
like,
an
real-
entirely
it's like-
different situation.
Look, Edward, I normally would put
Yeah.
your daughter in my class, but her faces were terrible. I'm sorry. I can't let
Yeah. But, like, if he's there for, like, a special reason and it's the difference between her getting expelled or not, I think she could evade, getting expelled at the very least. Like, I think that would actually work.
I mean, that's like the rich white people playbook
Yes.
101.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 What a dork. She just seemed like such a child to me this whole episode.
If
She
he can
seemed
go
really,
live
really
at the
childish.
plaza, she
They
could get out
can.
of trouble.
They can figure
Yeah.
it out. Yeah. Yeah.
He could donate a wing somewhere, I'm sure. So yeah, overall, I mean, Dr. Joe, you said you've been holding back. I actually really liked this episode. I think this is the most that I've liked it, just being this like in-depth watching it for the pod. I generally don't like when people get in trouble because that makes my tummy hurt.
Yep,
But I
yep.
actually just like really liked all of the relationships. My
Mhm.
only big gripe that we haven't talked about yet is that everyone's got a storyline except
For Elena. Yeah. Yeah. That definitely bothered me too.
Like the
no,
last two
I was-
episodes,
yeah.
Julie didn't really have anything. Now that Eric is in her life, she had something again. But I'm like, now literally everyone has one but Elena. Like, what the fuck?
She's making
That's-
frogs. That's her
Making
storyline.
frogs.
Like, what
They're
the
letting
heck?
Frogs. Yeah. It's really,
Yeah.
really unfortunate.
When I watched it a couple months ago, I was so beyond annoyed. And it was residual annoyance from the past 2 episodes or so. So I
Well,
was
that's the
still
thing,
really
like,
hot
annoyed-
coming off of those.
Annoyed by what she's doing, or like you actually hate the show and like the story and everything, or just like she is being, because like, yeah, that is her character. She's being annoying and jerky and immature.
She was
Or
being
are you-
exceptionally immature and inauthentic. That's the thing that keeps.
Oh.
That's a huge. I hate that thing, and that's what I have trouble with. But I was really trying to empathize with her on this rewatch. I watched it, a couple hours before we recorded. I like it in the later seasons, or just even later this season. Like, she stands up for what she believes in. That's her best self, the best version of Felicity, when she's like standing up for what she believes in, type of stuff. I'm just not seeing
Yeah,
that.
but I think we have to remember, like, this whole show is about finding yourself and
Yeah,
who you are. And when you're 18, 19, like, that version of yourself is constantly
It
changing.
doesn't quite exist yet.
Well, it's changing. Like, the person
Yeah,
you are now
it's
is not who you
developing.
were even 10 years ago. So it's
Mhm.
sort of realistic in that way. Like,
Absolutely.
your
Yeah.
life experiences change who you are. So each season, something's going to happen and she's going to be different than she was before.
Cause
And that's what I was trying to understand. If you like the fugue, I hate that Noel goes with Hannah, but I can
Mhm.
still say that that's an excellent episode. Like how it's written and stylized and the going back and forth with the music and the fugue, and like I still think it's a great episode and I love rewatching it, even though I'm like so pissed that Noel went with Hannah. So like that's what I was trying to glean. Like, are you just frustrated by what her character is doing, or do you actually think the episode is badly written and directed and produced and all of that stuff?
I was fine when I watched it. I was trying to remember. She's maybe 18 at this point, and she's just a knucklehead. We're stupid when we're that young,
I was
so
gonna say,
that's
but like
just how it
Melissa
is.
said, we were probably all assholes at that age, and like even middle school, like, oh, drop me a block away. I don't want anyone to see me with my parents at the mall. You know what I mean? Like, this
Yeah.
is a little older than that, but like, you know, it's the first time you're on your own. You're like, yeah, I've
Yeah.
got my whole life, and I want to go. Again, she's not a party animal, but it's like, you know, you're the first time living away from your parents. I can see some of it, but I think what Dr. Porter was doing in this episode, like nothing was overbearing. Like he just like drops by while she's working, grabs a coffee and leaves. Like that's the big imposition. It just, that didn't match. Whereas in previous episodes, I'm like, yeah, that did feel judgy to me. They're like, oh, your boyfriend's kind of old and you know. Whereas I didn't feel that in this episode. I felt really, really bad for him. Well, I hope / think she maybe learned her lesson by the end of it. Like, oh, I am an asshole. Yeah, I don't know. I think I appreciated it even more on rewatch this time.
That's good.
Everyone's entitled to their own interpretations and opinions.
I appreciated it this more than I did like a couple months ago. So it's okay.
Well, next week is a big one. I'm really excited to talk about it. I also am excited to do research to see if I can find any more on the next one because I have so many questions. Well, I hope this episode met everyone's expectations.
Oh boy. Oh.
Thank you all for tuning in again.
Yes.
Again, appreciate you all bearing with us on our mini / long break. We're excited to be back. We'll talk to you all next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Felicity Was Here is produced, written, and edited by Heather, Melissa, and Dr. Joe. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Felicity Was Here Pod. If you're enjoying the pod, please leave us a review and help us spread the word. We appreciate you and would love to hear from Felicity superfans like us. So send us your feedback, ask us your burning questions, or just say hey at felicitywasherepod@gmail.com. We may even read your note in a future episode.